What's up, mobile devs? Today we are going to make this amazing skeleton animation in React Native by simply using Moti. Moti is a React Native package that works on all platforms built on top of Reanimated by Fernando Rojo. On this channel I generally like to always develop things from scratch using Reanimated, but in this case I think there is no need to reinvent the wheel, and I think it is more appropriate to use a stable and well-maintained component. Moti is just one of the many packages with which Fernando has contributed in the community, and he has also recently opened a YouTube channel. I really suggest following him, and you can find a link to his channel in the video description. Before proceeding, if you like developing animations and interactions in React Native, you can support me on Patreon, where I post the source code of a new animation every week. Don't forget that you can always find the written version of my video tutorials on reactive.io. That said, we can finally move on to the code part. Here you can see the typical Expo boilerplate, and in this project nothing is going on. Basically we have the default app, but I've already installed the Moti package. So you can see that I've installed Moti, and since Moti is fully based on React Native Reanimated, I've installed also this package. So we are actually going to use Moti, but in detail we are going to use the Moti skeleton component, and the Moti skeleton component is based also on the linear gradient package. Since this project is based on Expo, I've installed therefore the Expo linear gradient package, but actually if the project is based on React Native CLI, Moti should be compatible even with the React Native linear gradient. Don't forget that since we are using Moti that is based on Reanimated, we also need the Reanimated plugin in the bubble.config.js, otherwise the animations are not going to work as expected. That said, we can already start to build the UI from scratch. Honestly, that's not needed, but if you follow this channel, you probably know that I'm really addicted in creating things from scratch. So the idea is that we are going to fetch the JSON placeholder APIs, and we are going to retrieve a list of users. So let's simply create the fetch contacts callback, so the function actually with the use callback hook. Here let's add a comment, fetch contacts from JSON placeholder, and their copilot will help us. So let's use the await. Let's retrieve the response, let's collect the data, and let's simply log the data. So usually, to be honest, I don't like to use fetch from JavaScript. I simply like to use Axios with React Query when I need to deal with REST APIs. But honestly, that is a bit out of scope. So I think that the fetch method is simply fine for this tutorial. And let's try to call fetch contacts in the use effect, just to see what is the data that we have right there. And basically you can see that we have a list of users. Especially we are interested in collecting name and emails, just to keep things easy. So let's create the contact info type, and we are going to collect the name and the email. Let's even create a state to store this information. We are going to have basically an array of contact info, and it could be also undefined. And here we are going to have the contacts and the set contacts method. So at the end of the API call, we are going to set the contacts by calling the set contacts function. There, of course, the UI is not changing, and that's because we need to use the flat list or whatever component in order to display a list. So let's simply use the flat list from React Native. Let's pass the data, and we are going to pass the contacts. And let's define the render item function. And for now, we are simply going to return a view with the style equal to with the width equal to 100%. And the height equal to 120. So let's reload. Nothing is changing. Let's even define the separator just to see the cells. And let's return a view with an height equal to 1, width equal to 100%, and a gray background color. So you can see that nothing is working, and that's because we are wrapping everything with this view that has this styles.container that by default is centered, so we don't need that. So let's reload, and we should see right now this list of empty items. So actually this component will be our contact list item, let's say, and it is better to create a separate file to deal with it. So let's create the components folder. Let's specify there the contact list item tsx file. So let's define here this component, and it will be a React functional component. And for now, let's simply return this view that we have right there. So we need to import, of course, view from React Native. And we need to return there the contact list item. Probably we need to export, yeah. So let's export the contact list item there, and let's import it over there. Let's reload, and nothing should change. So of course, inside the contact list item, we want to pass the contact info. So let's copy the type that we have right there. Let's define the contact list item props, and let's specify here the contact as contact info. And here we are going to specify the contact list item props, and we are going to retrieve the contact. So this information will be used later. And there we need to actually import again the contact info. So let's export it from there. And let's import the contact info information. And let's pass here, actually, let's pass there the contact as item. So we need simply to fix the UI that we have right there. So we are going to specify the title, that will be basically the name, the email, and a kind of circle avatar with the center text. So let's start actually to define the name and email. Let's import text from React Native, and let's specify font size equal to 25. So there we go. Let's specify even the contact email. Let's reduce a bit the font size, maybe 20. And let's add also a spacer between these two views. Let's say height equal to 5. Let's wrap everything with a view, and let's specify here the circle avatar. So let's say styles. We need to define the height. It will be, let's say, 70. Aspect ratio 1 since we want a square, and let's specify there the color. Let's say blue. And since we want we don't want a square, actually we want a circle, we need to set the border radius with the 50% of the height and width. So let's say 35. And there we go. And of course we need to fix the style that we have right there. We need therefore to pass the flex direction equal to row. So hopefully it should work. Of course we need to pass the flex direction equal to row to the main view. And let's even center the items. Let's apply a padding. Let's say padding horizontal 20. And let's apply there the margin left equal to 10. Let's say 15. So we simply need to add inside this circle a text. So let's simply copy this text right there, and let's say contact name 0. We just want the first letter. Let's specify the color. Let's center the item, and let's just update this blue. So usually I like to use this Visual Studio Code extension. I'm going to specify the name of the extension inside the video description. Honestly, it is extremely useful, especially if you need to quickly change the color. And I think that this color is simply fine. So here you can see that we have an issue with the safe area. honestly, we are not going to fix it properly. Usually you need to install a specific package, a React Native safe area context, and then you need to replace this view with the safe area view. But I think that for this tutorial, it's simply fine to specify padding top equal to 50, and we are good to go actually. So honestly, I think that the UI should be done. Of course, we can fix a bit the styles, so let's fix that. Let's refactor a bit the code. Specify styles with the stylesheet.create. So we need to import the stylesheet from React Native. And here, let's specify the container style. So let's say container. Let's say circle container. So circle container. And I think that right now it's fine. So of course it is better even to refactor the others, but it's simply not worth it for now. And let's focus to the on the animation. So actually the main point is that right now, if we reload, there will be a second where the view is empty. Usually what happens is that if, for instance, context is equal to undefined or null, we are going to display the loading indicator in a common use case. But in this use case, we want to deal with the loading state by passing by handling the loading state with the skeleton. So in order to achieve that, let's simply start to build our skeleton view, and it is going to be extremely straightforward. So let's import skeleton from Moti skeleton. Let's wrap the circle avatar, and we are basically going to create 3 different skeletons. The first one is going to wrap the circle, so this one. The other one is going to wrap the name, and the third one will wrap the email. So let's start from the circle one. So we are going to specify the height equal to 70, width equal to 70. Let's say show, so let's say that we want to show the skeleton. Let's specify the color mode equal to light. Let's specify actually that we want a round circle. So actually that we want a circle as a skeleton. So let's specify radius round. And what I usually like to do is to increase a bit the opacity of this background color. So in this case, we can simply use this background color. So it is a darker gray actually. So let's reload. So you can see here that we have built our skeleton, but there is also another interesting property that we can handle, and it is the transition property. Here we can specify the type, and we can say that we want a timing animation with a duration equal to 2000 seconds, actually 2000 milliseconds, therefore 2 seconds. And you can see that the skeleton is working perfectly. So right there, of course, we need to build even the other 2 skeletons. But the point is that there are some properties that we are going to reuse all over. And these properties are the color mode, the transition, and the background color. So we can basically extract these properties and we can create, let's say, a skeleton, let's say skeleton common props. So let's specify that we want the color mode of type light. Let's specify that we want the transition with type timing and duration 2000 milliseconds, and the background color with this gray. So yeah, right there we need to fix the string. We can remove right there these properties, and we can pass them to the skeleton. And right now TypeScript is complaining. So the issue is extremely interesting. The point is that TypeScript is saying that the color mode is of type string, and it is actually expecting the type light or dark. And the point is that by checking the skeleton common props, actually the color mode is of type string, and instead it should be of type light or dark. So we can fix this issue in a very simple way by setting the skeleton command props as const. And by doing that, you can see that right now TypeScript has fixed the type, and we can see that color mode is actually of type light. We have even fixed the other properties, but the most important thing is that the color mode is of type light. And in fact, right now, TypeScript is not complaining anymore. So by setting show equal to false, the skeleton, of course, is disappearing. And we are going to fix that later. So right now, let's focus even on the other skeletons. So let's wrap the contact name. And we are defining the skeleton with height equal to 20, width equal to 200, but actually Copilot defined that. We are going to fix everything in a second. So let's show the skeleton. Let's increase the height, let's say 30. And let's say that the width must be equal to 70% or maybe 80%. Yeah, let's reload. And here it is. Let's wrap even the contact.email with the skeleton. I think that the height should be slightly less than 30, so let's say 25, and let's decrease a bit the width. And I think it's simply fine. So let's show even the first skeleton, and everything looks great to me. So one interesting thing is that honestly the show property shouldn't be passed to each skeleton in this way. So let's remove that from all the skeletons. And the idea is that thanks to Moti, we can import the skeleton group, and we can define just one time the show property. And we are going to assign the show property to the skeleton group. And right now everything is working fine. If we toggle off this show property, the skeleton is disappearing. So the point is that, of course, we don't want to show always the skeleton, and we need actually to find a way to deal this show parameter. And the point is that we want to show the skeleton as long as the contact information is not available. So as long as the contact list is loading. And in order to deal with this issue, we need first of all to let the contact list item React functional component accepts a contact that can be undefined. And there we know that we want to show the skeleton group if the contact is equal to null. So in a common use case, probably it's better to set show equal to loading or something like that. But in this example, we know that if contact is null, it means that basically the list is loading. Of course, it could mean also that the API has failed, but who cares? So yeah, of course, we need to fix even these other issues. So let's say contact and text. So we need to be sure that contact is defined, otherwise we shouldn't display the text. And we shouldn't display even this one. So probably, actually we shouldn't display the whole circle. So let's reload. And here nothing is working properly. So we are going to fix that, but I just want to make sure that everything is working. So that's fine. And the point is that, so of course we have implemented the correct logic, but there is an important thing. And the thing is that if the contact, so actually at the beginning, we are always going to have the contacts equal to undefined. And while reloading, the contact list is going to be empty, basically. Instead, we want to have, let's say, a contacts placeholder list. So if the contacts list is undefined, we even want to display a contacts placeholder list. So let's see now in a second what I mean. Let's create this contacts placeholder placeholder list, and this is simply going to be a list of null. So let's return there that we want 15 items, an array of 15 items, and we are going to return null. So that's probably not the best way to do that, but it's going to work. So if contacts is undefined, and at the beginning it will, we are going to pass contacts placeholder list. And by doing that, you can see that everything is working properly. So just to see better what is going on, let's create, let's say, wait for 200 milliseconds. And let Copilot help us. We are going to wait for 2 seconds just to see for a longer time the skeleton. So here it is. And I simply want to highlight an interesting fact. So at the end of the skeleton animation, you can see that the text and all the component is popping directly. And honestly, it is fine. So actually, okay, so we need also to fix this issue. So actually, item in this case needs to be can be null, but contact list item accepts an item that can be undefined or contactive. So here let's simply say contactive or null, and let's return back to this observation. So if you notice, there is this kind of immediate transition, and we can smooth a bit, we can add a kind of fading to this component in order to fix this transition. And that is a bit out of scope. We are going to use the layout animation from React Native. In the past, I've already made a tutorial on them, but honestly, that is a really straightforward concept. So let's see that together very quickly. And the main idea is that we want to add this fading to these views. So to this one, the text and the text that we have over there. And in order to do that, we simply need to convert the view that we have right there to an animated view. So let's import animated from React Native reanimated. And we need simply to pass the layout equal to layout. Let's import layout from reanimated. And let's specify here that we want as an entering animation, a fade in animation with a duration of, let's say, 100 seconds and a half. And here let's focus on the circle. And you can see that the circle is simply fading in very nicely. So we can reuse the same concept. We need to convert this text to an animated text. Let's pass the same properties, so layout and entering. Let's do that even for this text. And there we go. So let's see. And everything is working perfectly. So I really hope that this tutorial was clear. Honestly, the animation is very, very simple. We are simply relying on a component that is doing all the job for us. So it is, we are basically doing nothing. We are just reusing an existing component. So everything seems a bit straightforward, but that's simply because this component is handling all the hard job. And that's the beauty of the Moti package that I really recommend if you want to build animations very quickly. So thanks a lot for staying with me all this time. If you are interested in this type of content, of course, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And if you want to suggest other animations as this one, feel free to suggest that in the description below, in the section below, and see you to the next one.